EV education and high tech. In manufacturing, BEST Group focuses on mobility and defense industries and process automation solutions for advanced manufacturing systems and intelligent machines. Nitesh is also founder of India's well-known chain of corporate childcare centers called the Banyan. In order to change the future of education, he launched the initiative called BeSingular, an innovative edtech company engaged in teaching exponential technologies to students from 4 years upwards. The aim of the company is to prepare the next generation so that they understand and apply future tech to solve great challenges that humanity is facing across the globe. He is the founder of Ashoka University, India's leading liberal arts and science university, a mentor at Smart Mobility Accelerator Program at Tel Aviv University, Israel, the ambassador at the Singularity University, Delhi, and a board member at Harvard Alumni and Entrepreneurs. His personal mission, ladies and gentlemen, is to transform education space to impact the learning possibilities for the next generation. Presenting to you at this time, Mr. Nitesh Jain.
Hello everyone, and thank you so much for inviting me, my brother Suranga and the English Tea Shop Company for giving me this honor to come and present my thoughts. My job in the next 45 minutes is to introduce some cutting-edge technology, how it is changing the world, and how it is transcending businesses and governments and societies in an era of new age opportunities which can be used to meet global great challenges. Now, I personally believe that we are living in exponential times. We are living in times which are really fascinating. Why I say so is because the technologies are giving us a lot of opportunities which we never ever thought before. Dr. Ravi has already set the stage by telling us what kind of challenges humanity faces. And I believe that if we continue to do what we do as we've been doing before, we will never be able to change anything. We'll only keep talking and there'll be no action. So what I'm going to present are options, taking few examples from few areas which are also part of UN. There were 17 different areas which UN feels that we should be working on, and there I've just taken few because of the paucity of time. So I don't know if you noticed or not, but the pace of technological acceleration is itself accelerating. Why it is happening? Because all the technologies what we see today are sitting layer after layer on top of each other and giving new ideas which we didn't even imagine before. So this is what is happening as we talk. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't have challenges. We have a lot of challenges. Mark, in his speech yesterday, Dr. Ravi presented something. Now, today we have over 7 billion people living on the planet. By 2050, we will have 10 billion people. And we need to feed, clothe, transport, employ, educate, entertain each one of them. If we keep doing what we are doing today, the world could run out of water by 2040, fish by 2048, food by 2050, and almost no rainforest by 2100. We all know what Australian bushfires are doing. 1 million animals got killed. Enormous amount of farmlands got fire, and it's really disturbing the whole ecosystem. And this is happening because the resources are depleting. We are actually not doing enough to sustain the planet. And if we continue to live the way we live, we need 1.7 planets to sustain humanity. And that's not possible. So the question is, how do we create a world which is sustainable for 10 billion people? Well, all is not bad. Humanity is better off than before. The global poverty rate has dropped to a record of less than 10% in 2019. Life expectancy has gone 2x in last century. And the proportion of undernourished people has fallen by almost 50%. Now, access to resources are growing. I mean, we have 50% people who have access to internet globally. 30 billion devices will be connected by the end of 2020. 90%, now watch this figure, 90% of the data the world has created is it's only in the last 2 years. Because the amount of data we generate every single day today is unbelievable. And 200 quadrillion calculations per second is what a supercomputer can do. 5G is no longer a talk, it's a reality. 13 countries have it, more countries are going for it. So exponential technologies are actually transforming the world. Let's take a few examples. 1961, Yuri Gagarin created history, first man in space. And I got to know that after he finished this flight in 1961, he came and stayed in this hotel the same year. I saw something outside. And very soon, you and I will be able to go to space. Why? Because companies like Virgin Atlantic or SpaceX are creating these opportunities for us to go to space. Another example, banking in 1900s or even a few years back. We used to go to a bank to transact. What is happening today? We are doing it on a cell phone. Sitting here, we can operate anything in terms of business because we have that power in our hand. Farming, in a lot of villages in India and even probably in Sri Lanka, this also is a reality even today. But what is happening? Smart farming is giving us the options to completely change the way we can farm. We have drones, IoTs, we have smart sensors, which can help us actually do smart farming. Very interesting company, CropX from Israel. Now they have created this technology which is doing soil mapping and giving accurate data to a farmer to understand what he needs to do. So Dr. Ravi spoke about how we can conserve water when we are farming. And imagine if the farmers who are doing organic farming have this power of getting data and knowing where exactly they need to give the right amount of water and fertilizer, what is going to happen? So I have some figures. Global farming is the way it's happening today is going to completely change. And the question will be which community takes the lead first. We have these technologies available, but somebody has to go and actually implement this. Robotic machines, a very interesting company called Harvest Crop from US. They have this machine where the robotic arms with high precision imagery is able to understand what is a leaf, what is a fruit, whether the fruit is ripe enough. It plucks the fruit, packages it, and it's ready to ship. Imagine that. I mean, how much precision is there in the equipment which is available? Plant imagery. This fascinating company from Israel again, Taranis, they're able to identify early signs of crop threat. So if you are able to understand which particular crop is going to go bad, you can take an action right now. Instead of cultivating the land and then try to figure out what we need to do with the bad stuff we produced. So tech is actually changing a lot of stuff. Future farming, vertical farming, urban farming is going to be the next thing. And this industry itself will be about $20 billion by 2026. So imagine buildings growing fruits, vegetables, whatnot. And you do it right next to your house. It's easy to get. You don't need to transport it. Fresh, available. It's amazing what is happening. AeroFarms, a company in US, actually did something on this, and I think I have a video which I can play.
You can't see it on the outside, but this old industrial neighborhood is an agricultural oasis. Inside this former laser tag arena, about 250 kinds of leafy greens are growing in huge quantities to be sold to local supermarkets and restaurants. This is AeroFarms, a massive indoor vertical farm in Newark, New Jersey.
Our mission is to build farms in cities all over the world so people have access to fresh, great tasting, highly nutritious food.
Crops are stacked more than 30 feet high inside this 30,000 square foot space. They're grown using aeroponic technology.
Typically in indoor growing, the roots sit in water and one tries to oxygenate the water. Our key inventor realized that if we missed nutrition to the root structure, then the roots have a better oxygenation.
AeroFarm says the root misting system allows them to use 95% less water than a regular field farm. They also use no pesticides or herbicides. Instead of soil, plants are grown in reusable cloth made from recycled plastic. And instead of the sun, there are rows and rows of specialized LED lighting.
All right, so moving on to something else. I don't know how many of you know, but 1/3 of our non-ice land mass is used for agriculture, and 60% of that is fed to livestock. 60%. It generates 18% global carbon footprint. So if you eat meat, that's how much you're contributing to this environment in a bad way. The companies like Impossible Foods, which are actually making plant-based meat, and there are a lot of them which have come up. So there's Memphis, there's Clara Food, and Shoik from Singapore. So they are actually introducing plant-based meat. Now this is same taste. They use an animal cell, which they infuse when they're creating a plant, and it gives same taste. And you can probably live with not killing any cow or buffalo or lamb going forward. And there are other companies as well. So look at this interesting company, Spira. Now it produces spirulina from algae. Now algae is something which is so easily producible, right? You don't need anything. You just need sun and water. Interesting fact is that spirulina grows very quickly, and 60% of that is protein. In the same time, or if you want equivalent plant-based protein to be taken, you need soya probably, right? Soya is taking about 210 days to produce, 35.9% protein content. Peanuts, it takes 150 days to produce, 26% protein content. And what they have found is through food engineering, they can alter the taste. So the algae would be edible, or you can even drink it, and the taste will be amazing. But these are options to consume protein for us to be healthier. Another amazing company, Palmwise, they have an autonomous wheat sorting machine. So what it does is, now if you're in agriculture, you have sown the seeds, plants are there, and you also have weeds. Now what do you do? This company just has produced this amazing small truck, which has, again, high power imagery. It moves around the field. It's able to identify weed from a good plant, take the weed out, and let the water or fertilizer being used by the plants we actually want to grow. So that's conserving a lot of wastage, which is otherwise not possible. And it can actually move around in a field which can produce crop for almost 400,000 inhabitants living. So the previous example was of a machine which actually runs autonomously with electric batteries, that you don't need fuel engine. There's another example of how similar vehicles like I showed before, and even this one, can actually help to conserve the planet. Lightyear has produced a car which has a solar roof. It charges while it goes. When you're driving in a range of 725 kilometers, enough for you to travel from one city to another. I've seen this roof built in a company in Germany. They're doing some amazing stuff. The kind of PV cells they have now, which can take the sun rays and convert into electricity to run a vehicle, is mind-boggling. It's just amazingly getting developed over and over time. In the last 4 years, they've been able to completely change the rate at which the car could be charged. Another amazing company from Belgium, Van Hool Buses, they run on hydrogen fuel. Now, hydrogen fuel manufacturing only needs water, and you can take hydrogen out, and you can power the vehicles from that. 18-meter long bus has a 300-kilometer range, and it can carry 125 passengers at one time. Now, renewable energies, the usage will grow almost 50% in the next 5 to 6 years. That's how the world is changing. Why the mobility on land? Look at what is happening in air. Electric aircraft. I had a privilege of going to this company in Israel called Elevation Aircraft and met the founder, Omar. He had this amazing MTP where he said, I want to fly the plane using batteries. And when I went there 2 years back, I said, this guy must be nuts. How is it possible to fly a plane with batteries? He said, no, we're going to be successful. And they have already tested the flight. It's done pretty well. They have a range of 1,000 to 1,200 kilometers, 9 people and a crew. You can go from point A to point B, no fuel needed to actually fly an aircraft. Now, there are data which is mind-boggling, how much carbon footprint airlines are causing by flying. And if this happens, imagine what is going to be the benefit to the planet, right? And this is for a 9-passenger aircraft. We have other examples. Air taxi, a company from Germany, Volocopter, Lilium Jet from Germany again, they are building a small air taxi which can carry a passenger, 1 or 2, from point A to point B. They already had a successful test flight so far, and they will be launching it pretty quickly for commercial usage. So why leave Uber behind? Nikhil Goyal is a CTO, who's actually leading this project at Uber. Amazing guy. So I had a chance of listening to Nikhil and his thoughts and why Uber thought of going into air mobility. And he said that, look, you know what, we disrupted the way people could go from point A to point B, where you don't need a personal car. You only need a mobile phone, order, Uber will be there at your doorstep, and it'll take you wherever you want. They want to take it to a completely different level, where they are partnering with urban developers to build skyports. So imagine an autonomous Uber coming to your doorstep. It takes you to the nearest skyport. You hop onto Uber taxi, and it takes you to another place which is a bit far away. And another autonomous Uber is waiting for you to take to your final destination. This is what Uber wants to do, because they feel that mobility has to be completely transformed if we have to serve humanity going forward. So Uber actually is going to start commercial production, or start production operations of this amazing stuff by 2023. And what will Uber use is the question. Autonomous cars, as Nikhil said. And who's building it? Google. They have this startup called Waymo. A lot of you would have heard about it. I actually follow this company a lot because what they're doing is simply amazing. They have almost 20 million miles covered so far. And now they have about 20 Jaguars, which are actually loaded with AI and the engine which they built, and it's moving around. And what they say is that these cars will clock over 1 million miles each year to give them a lot of data for the next few years. Now, data is the only fuel these cars need, nothing else. They don't need gasoline because they're electric operated, but data will help them to completely transform the way we can move from point A to point B, reducing the fatalities which we have on road accidents, because the AI engine is so self-learning. When the car is moving, it catches around in the surrounding what's happening. It's able to recognize street lights and all the pedestrian signs. And with that, it's able to understand what it has to do the next. I mean, driving by self, it's only our skill as to we avoid making an accident. But it's actually going to be controlled by the AI engine, which Google has developed, to precisely calculate whether the car should slow down or brake. Now, AI is going to completely disrupt the way things are happening. I mean, I showed you examples on agriculture, like Taranis, they all are AI-driven, softwares, which is able to predict how the plant is going to look like, but we also have AI application in another interesting way. So I had, again, an opportunity to meet the founder, Greg Cross from Soul Machines. Now, what he says is that he's going to democratize and disrupt the economics of human interaction with the ability to automate it. So what happens is that going forward, you will be talking not to a call center guy or a woman, who you can't see, but you will actually interact with one. And that interaction actually makes the business transactions completely change, because you're able to relate to somebody who's serving you. So imagine having a 24/7 personal assistant to help you with what you want to do. I'll play a small video to let you know what they're doing.
Computers being more human.
Now we are.
The next employee you recruit could be digital.
Let's get started.
Hello, I'm Fatima.
I'm Jamie.
I'm Cash, and I'm here to help you.
We're partnering with Soul Machines, creating incredibly lifelike, emotionally responsive digital humans with personality and character that allow machines to talk to us literally face to face.
Have you already downloaded your product?
Yes, I have.
You are already one.
Great. So now what they estimate is that it'll save $8 billion a year if something like this comes up, because the amount of employees which you need to hire who are doing jobs which are probably not motivating enough can be handled by something like this, and you're good to go.
Computers being more.
AI in education. This is the next frontier which is going to happen. So we are going to see rise of AI tutors. Now, these machines can gauge emotions, understand the language, accent, etc. of a child, and probably tell them what they really don't know and teach them better. The data which is available to process this emotional understanding of a child, they will use that, and they will be able to customize the content which the child can see and learn. Another interesting company from China, Squirrel. So they did an analysis that, you know what, every kid is different. You can't teach the same subject in the same way to all the children who are in the class. What do? They've started this venture, which is actually adaptive learning. So a child actually goes and takes a test. With that test, the machine actually customizes the entire content personalized for that particular child and teaches what the child should know. Post that, there's another test which a child can take at ease, and it'll tell you exactly how much you should focus on one particular area or two which you couldn't understand, and then give them different examples to teach them what they did not learn in the first place. Amazing stuff. And the data says that by 2026, 47% of delivery of education would happen online, and this industry would be almost about $120 billion in the same time frame. There's another company, OpenAI, which actually has created this robotic human hand, and what they are saying is that this will completely disrupt the way robots actually function today, and also hit the or give a solution for prosthetics going forward. But this hand is able to understand, feel, and do things which a human hand can. It's powered by an engine, and it has neural networks which have been trained to be able to operate and work the way it should. So this is something which is really going to be amazing. Imagine this device with a hand being available to do a lot of jobs which we don't even think can be done by machines. Healthcare. AI is actually completely disrupting the way healthcare is going to work going forward. So AI can detect Alzheimer's disease 6 years before it hits a patient. 6 years before. So before you know that you are slowly going towards this direction, it detects and it helps you take the right dosage at the right time to nip the disease in the bud. And not only that, AI actually is able to today detect 50 eye diseases much better than a doctor can. There will be swallowable medical devices which you will have. So imagine a small capsule which will swallow, it will be in your body. It can give exact information about your health in real time to your physicist. This is what is happening. There's a company in Israel, I forgot the name, who actually have this capsule already made, and they are doing a test. Now, there are a lot of variables which are which are actually there in the market, and there are going to be more variables coming. Why? Because the need for longevity is increasing. So there are companies who are developing wearable devices which give data in real time to you, yourself, also to your doctor. And these devices are connected to more and more machines which are in the clinics around you. And this market will be almost 158 billion, by 2022. And this is growing. So I attend CES almost every year. It's one of the biggest fair in Las Vegas. And every year I'm just amazed by the amount of work which is happening in wearables. There's a separate section, it only grows each year. There are so many startups which are there. And the kind of stuff which is happening is unbelievable. So any one of you, January every year, CES, you can go and see what is happening in this area. Remote surgery consultations. So imagine this, a small village in Sri Lanka, a hospital is there, but qualified doctor not. And you would not go to that hospital because you want to actually just get fascinated by a good building or a good operation theater. You don't even know how that machine works. You are going there for a doctor. What can happen if a machine is there and a doctor operates sitting in Boston or New York by robot? So there's a huge demand which is going to peak up for robotic surgery. This experiment was done in China. I play this video just to let you know how this is functional. Now this doctor is performing remote control surgery over 5G network, very low latency level. The cameras are amazing. They're giving him a complete purview of what is happening in a body. AI is learning when he's performing surgery to see his hand movement, to understand what he's treating. So this engine continuously keeps learning. Now imagine so many doctors around the globe. Imagine how many doctors around the globe are performing surgery. And if there's a way to capture the knowledge of this doctor while he's performing a surgery, and this is available to you as a doctor in a different part of the world, how many lives can be saved? So this is what AI can do, and this is what these technologies can help us with. So here's a doctor performing an operation. Traditionally, they have an image guidance system. So the doctor looks at the image and tries to do something, looks again up, does something. You have VR glasses. Line of sight is clear, and because you're connected to an engine which is also giving you information real time as to what is the next step or what can happen, what are the probability of you moving left to right, can you stitch a patient better? It's amazing what is going to happen. How many lives can be saved just because of this technology? Drone supply of medicines. This amazing company from US again, they are able to deliver medicines at your doorstep. So they have trained staff, qualified pharmacists. They're able to pack something for you and send it across at a very, very quick pace. So you don't have to actually wait for a few hours where delivery of medicine is going to be difficult. So imagine the applications somewhere in Africa where they don't have medicines. The doctors prescribe, but what do you do? I mean, it'll take a few days to get it. You go with a drone delivery. It just goes and drops your medicine off to the nearest pharmacist as it's fed in the system. Genetic engineering in healthcare. There are 50,000 genetic changes which cause diseases in humans. CRISPR is actually allowing to completely target precisely repair a DNA which has gone wrong. Now imagine somebody getting cured of diabetes because the gene sequence can be altered and you're disease-free. This is what is happening as we speak. Stem cells is another amazing stuff which is happening in medicine. Myomatrix, this company actually grows human organs in labs. So they have a process of decellularization and cellularization where they're able to infuse human stem cells and grow organs. And their mission is to have a world where nobody has to wait for organs. 100,000 organ transplants happen every year. And there are a numerous number of people who actually die because they're not able to get organs. And I can tell you from India, and probably it's true for Sri Lanka and a lot of other countries, people don't even go and register themselves because they know that if the rich man has never got an organ, forget me, I will never get it. And so there's not enough data to even tell us honestly how many people die because of no organ availability. Imagine what happens if something like this comes up. Regenerative medicine is next one. My personal family friend, Vipul, who runs this amazing company in India, it's the biggest stem cell lab in India today. And they are curing so many patients coming from overseas because they can't find treatment for the disease they're suffering with. And this company is able to recover more than 94% of cell count from various cell sources in your human body. Medibots. All know about coronavirus. Now look how quickly China actually used these technologies to help serve humanity in such a short period of time. You have Medibots which are standing outside the door of the hotel or a conference hall or wherever. It can scan, it can send the data about the person, because in China facial recognition is legal and they do it on a very, very large scale. Now they know exactly which is the person, where he was, when he was there, where, and the data goes and they're precisely able to get that guy and put him in quarantine ward. And then they have these robots which actually deliver medicines and food in the isolation wards. Nobody wants to go near the guy who's suffering. So they're able to deploy this technology very quickly. New organ printing. This company is making printable ink, and you are able to print an organ. So we spoke about Micromatics, which is actually growing the organ. This company is actually building inks, which is able to print organs. And they have, this is a picture of a human heart, which was actually produced using their inks. "3D drug printing. Imagine you go to a doctor, he prescribes a medicine, it goes to a pharmacist, and with your body vitals, because of the variables which you're having on you, the exact amount of dosage which is needed for you to get healthier is printed for you and delivered to your doorstep, probably by a drone. Now, if you go today, a doctor would prescribe you, okay, 1,000 mg of this medicine. Now, you need only 200 to get better, but they only have 500 or 1,000 or maybe 750 or 1,000, whatever. But that's not what you need. Why should you have more medicine? I mean, you print medicine as much as you need. But this company has actually got the FDA approval, for printing drugs, and it's already doing the stuff, so you can check out on your website what they're doing. 3D printed parts on satellites. I had a chance to visit Airbus's satellite manufacturing facility in Toulouse in France, and I come from manufacturing sector, and I could never imagine that you could 3D print a part which is going on a satellite. Now, it's a $350 million piece which you fly. If anything goes wrong, that money is gone. But the engineers over there, when I actually interacted with them, they said, you know what? It's amazing what is happening today. We can do multiple iterations. We have dropped the cost to nuts. Like, you can't even imagine how much it used to cost for us to produce a part with a traditional manufacturing method. It's gone down. It's much faster. We are able to assemble a satellite in lesser time than we used to ever do before. And I completely understood what he was saying, because going forward, companies like OneWorld are going to have these satellite constellations moving around, where the whole world will be connected with internet at gigabit speeds. So I could understand what he means when he says that, we can drop the cost of satellites and we can have many more flying than what we can do from our budgets available. 3D printing of public transport. John, who's the CEO of Local Motors, I interacted with him when I went to CES last time, and he told me there's no need for automotive plants anymore. Why do we need these large assembly lines, fixed costs, so many people, and produce vehicles? We can 3D print them. It's easier, it's faster. You just design, there's a CAD file, load it, and the printer is going to keep working. You don't need any manpower, and it's going to give you the right product which you need. So I actually actually sat in this beautiful looking. It's like a toy, a small one, with 5 people inside, and they already are operating this on, I think, in Vegas now and other locations. Completely disruptive. I was actually checking out whether he's saying that this was possible. I actually checked out in and out, and yeah, you could see the layers of 3D printing. If you see it with a close angle, you can find out, the layers, and you can understand. Yeah, this bus is completely 3D printing, and they look using not big size 3D printers, as he told me. They do piece by piece and just put it together. So that's how this shuttle is made. So if that's not all, how about 3D printed food? Food Inc. Now this restaurant has 3D printed furniture. It has 3D printed utensils and 3D printed food. What an immersive experience it is. 3D printed ice creams. Starbucks in LA, 5 locations, Dream Pops. This ice cream has no milk. So amazing stuff happening. And Suranga actually last night told me a secret. He told me not to tell anyone, but I would. He's thinking of 3D printing tea going forward. So imagine 3D printed tea where the wearable tells you what your mood is, what you would like to have. The data goes to a 3D printer. It makes the tea for you, and a small robot actually brings the tea to you. Isn't it amazing? This is going to happen, I'm sure about it. There's a company actually in Israel called Temi. It makes a very small size robot, which actually helps you do all the work which you tell the robot to do. So I'm sure ETS can find a new business going forward. So moving forward, there's another example of 3D printed shoe. I don't know anybody has heard of a company called Carbon? No one? Amazing company, based in California. I went to see this company because I read so much about this company. I said, I have to go and meet the founder. So Phil DeSimone, he showed me around, and at that time, they were actually doing the prototyping of a 3D printed shoe. So this is a collaboration with Adidas. So they were actually printing shoes from 3D printer, and I could see it just coming out like this from the machine. I was amazed. How could a machine print a shoe which you can wear and move around with? There's a video I want to show, which will actually tell you what
Partnership with Adidas. We've created a midsole that shouldn't exist so that they could make a shoe that shouldn't exist. Light, super flexible, highly durable, and printed straight from liquid. A marvel of design and function, this shoe defies logic. And whether you want to make 1 or 1 million, this is true, customizable, and on-demand mass manufacturing.
Customized, on-demand, personalized manufacturing is the word. So they print the shoe which completely fits your foot. So it's not that you go and buy something and you try 1 or 2 and say, okay, this one is good. The size is there, they'll print it and deliver to your home. So that's what they're doing. So we spoke of 3D printed drugs, organs, shoes. Another interesting thing is that the 3D printing industry, what is called additive manufacturing, is completely disrupting a lot of areas. Housing will be next. And it's not that the printers are small size. The printers are having larger size, and you can probably print a building. This is a 2-story building, 9.5 meters tall and 640 square meters. Imagine a CAD file delivered to a 3D printer. You don't need manpower. You can sleep, and the building is being printed to you. And the costs are dramatically low. So as we speak, a lot of material scientists are actually doing a lot of research as to what all they can do with different materials. to help 3D print something which we can't even imagine. I mean, I was amazed when I read about 3D printed food. I mean, what else do you need? So the global 3D printing market is going to be about $34 billion by 2024. It's going to increase by almost 4 or 5 times going forward. And all this is taking us to a very different digital future, a future where almost 60% of global GDP will be digitized, 70% of global economy in the next decade will be working on digitally enabled platforms. So I actually get asked a lot of times whether this means that we will have a lot of unemployment because jobs will go. Good question to ask. Now, if I reflect back and say, what happened 50 or 20 years back, nobody imagined that we would have so many technologies today. Did we lose any jobs or something worse happened to the planet or to the companies? Well, no. Did we ever believe that these jobs would exist 10 years ago? Nobody did. Blockchain architect. I mean, if you ask somebody 10 years back, there will be a blockchain architect. What the hell is this? Nobody could believe it. And similarly, going forward, Similarly, going forward, there will be a lot of jobs similar to these which are going to be there, which are going to come up. It's not that we're going to lose something by adopting these technologies. It's just helping us to have a different kind of future. And this is coming. I mean, whether we like it or not, this is going to happen. Now, 65% of children entering primary school today will ultimately end up working in completely new job types. Their parents don't know what those job types will be. Teachers don't know. They don't know themselves. Education system has no idea what kind of jobs the kids will be actually going and working on. So what do? We need to upskill, right? We need to upskill the current people, current manpower which we have. We need to upskill the people who we feel that would be redundant. I mean, it's a responsibility of the community, society, government, etc., to figure out how we can upskill people. 1.8 million jobs will be eliminated, 2.3 created, and 133 new job roles. I have no idea what these 133 new job roles will look like. Right? This is going to happen. So what's the future, right? The question is that we talk of scarcity, we talk of sustainability issues, we talk of a lot of problems we have as a planet, as humanity. I truly feel that, whenever as human race, we've been hit by something like scarcity, we have only innovated and adopted technologies to create abundance. Abundance of resources, reach, opportunities. That's what we have done. That's what we have done for centuries, and probably we'll continuously keep doing it. The only question is how much we are able to educate and able to understand how these challenges can be met, right? So I want to just share a personal story, why. So, while we were actually discussing what we can do to help change the world, we can talk of upskilling our people, we can talk of companies being more responsible. Dr. Ravi spoke a lot. And my personal belief is that if we don't do a course correction at the grassroots level, we can keep talking about it, nothing will happen. So that's when the idea of BeSingular, my own venture, came up. And I said, if we don't teach these technologies and how kids of today's age can actually understand these technologies better, can learn how to ethically deploy these technologies, we are going to create another few million people who will be coming out of schooling system and universities and probably they will not be able to add any value to society. And that's how BeSingular actually got born. And that leads us to a larger question as to how we as businesses, politics or politicians, nations, communities, society, how we can actually start looking at creating shared value from a completely different perspective. Is it only the responsibility for us to create shared value for people who are working with? We need to create shared value right up the chain, right from that small young boy or girl who is in our home. How do they understand what shared value means? Can they relate to what they're learning? Can they relate to what? Can they see how they can meaningfully use their skill sets to meet global trade challenges? That's what is important. As companies, we should invest in the future as much as we're investing in the current employees and current ecosystem where we're operating. That's extremely critical for us. So this is what it is about. I mean, how the investors, can they invest in creating shared value at the bottom of the pyramid, which starts from our own home with our own kids, policymakers, and also the businesses. So before I end, I just want to leave you with 2 examples just to prove a point. So I hate making a talk where there's no meaningful example how you can relate to it. There's a company in Mexico, New Story Charity. They have started building 3D printed houses, 500 square feet a piece for a family. In 24 hours, it's ready. 1/100th of a cost of building a house with labor and all the stuff which you need. Right? So they're doing it, creating abundance for all, for a community. Another example, square roots. Now, we spoke of agriculture and farming in a big way. Now, this company realized that, look, we can keep talking a lot, that a lot of things are going to change in agriculture, but does the young engineer or a young farmer or a young guy we employ, do they know how they can contribute meaningfully by using technology? So they are actually teaching them how to grow, how to farm using new technologies which are coming over. Thank you.
Mr. Jain, please stay on. What an extraordinary address. As exciting as it is, terrifying. Please do stay on, and I'd like to invite Mr. Sampath Amarasen and Mr. Andrew Phillips from the English Tea Shop to present you with a memento for your kind presence. And